Well, hi, everyone. We're back.
We're back.
And we wanted to share with you this week something we've been exploring with our graduate community, people who have completed our 6-week course. And it's about being in the flow and how that relates to our relationship with food. It's so interesting what we've been seeing that, well, one of our clients pointed out that there was a period in her life years ago when she lost a lot of weight. And it was so effortless. She said, when I had options to eat the food that was off the program, it didn't even occur to me to eat it. It was just, I just want to eat. I adore the food I'm eating that's making me healthy and I'm losing weight. And then after some time, she lost the weight, things changed in her life, and she started eating differently again, going back to old habits, put some weight back on. And so we've been exploring, what is it that allows us to be in that flow, in that space, in that state of mind where we're not tempted by our old habits.
Yeah. What allows us to be in the place of joy when we are inspired and love doing what we're doing? Can we find that place within again and again and eat from there?
Yeah, we did a little exercise with our group on Saturday to look at what is it that lights you up inside? What is it that brings you joy? What is it that inspires you? And it was so fun because everybody knew right away where to go. Oh, nature. One woman, it was quilting. Another person was swimming, walking, just this whole variety of things. And isn't it interesting that for one person, swimming just puts them in that space. And for another person, it's like, you've got to tell me how you do that because all I feel is wet and cold. So it points out that these things that bring us joy aren't the circumstance. We do something else that allows us to move into this flow. And when we are doing this thing that brings us joy, we explored this. It's like what people see is that when we experience joy, it's not so much the circumstance, it's not the quilting, the swimming, the being in nature. It is that I'm not listening to that chatty voice that's projecting into the future. What do I need to do tomorrow? Oh, I don't know if I have enough time. The chatty voice that is a part of every human experience, but it isn't the truth of who we are. When they're swimming, quilting out in nature, they may have a thought about, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? But they just let it pass on through. And they're just dropped into the space, touching that space of who they really are.
And when we touch the space of who we really are, we feel joy, we feel relaxation, we feel fulfillment, we feel
well-being.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. We feel our health, we feel our joy, we feel our aliveness.
Yeah, and just a sidebar, because I'm going to just take us off for a minute, because as you describe that, what's coming to me is how this sense of joy and well-being is our innate way. It is who we are.
Exactly.
And when we don't experience that, it's not because it went somewhere. We lost it. We're damaged goods now. We'll never be happy again. It's simply that we've moved our attention out into all this thinking. And that's like clouds covering the sky, the sun.
Yeah.
The sun didn't disappear. It's just all the thinking that we've given our attention to. We've taken a thought and believed it to be true when it's just a thought. It's just a meandering.
Yeah, it's just a part of a fleeting experience. It isn't the truth of who we are. And when we eat from being in the present moment, being in our well-being, being in our joy, we eat from that inner wisdom. We eat from what really supports our well-being.
What I hear you saying is what you've said so many times before too. When we are in that space, in that present moment, habits don't exist there.
True.
Isn't that interesting? You see, a habit is a thought. A habit is this remembering something that happened in the past and bringing it forward. Let's do this again. And when we're in the present, we're just not back there.
Yeah, we're more connected. We are fully who we are. And living from there more and more, life gets easier, habits fall away. Eating becomes what really serves our health, our well-being naturally. We don't have to work at any of that. It's such a beautiful place to live.
Yeah, that's what our graduates were saying. How they saw when they were in the flow, when they're in this space, this presence, however you want to describe it, they loved the good food. And even the thought of eating that stuff that was off the program, the low nutrient dense food that our bodies don't thrive with, it was a no-brainer. It was like, why would I eat that? And they could see how when they were driven to eat it in the past, they were simply trying to use the food to satisfy, to ameliorate, to try and damp down some tension, some emotional feeling, eating for emotional relief rather than nourishment.
So plan this week. Take a moment right now and look at what makes you come to life, what brings joy to you, what brings inspiration. And notice when you do that, how you feel. And then notice when you eat from thinking and see the difference between those two feelings. And when you're in that place of who you really are, check in to your wisdom and see what it wants to eat, if it wants to eat anything at that moment. And notice the difference between the feeling of the two places that we go.
Yeah, I think that's the, excuse me, that is the kind of the main distinction I think we're trying to make, is that we all experience thought, but it's like it comes from two different sources. One is our personal thinking, which is all based on past experience and future projection. And the other is this wisdom that comes to us in the moment that has us connected with everything that's beneficial in our lives.
Yeah.
So see if you can play with that this week. See if you can notice the distinction between personal thinking, which often has a sense of urgency about it, and often comparing, analyzing pros and cons, that whole ping pong game we get going in our mind.
Dynamic.
Yeah. And that wisdom, the voice that comes to us, kind of nudging us forward to do something without any comparison to anything else. It's just like, oh, let's do this. So let's know what happens.
Yeah, now recipe. Today we're going to give you a soup recipe that I think you will enjoy very much. It uses miso as the base, and it's full of veggies, and it has some of the most beautiful bok choy and shiitake mushrooms as the base of its goodness. So make it and enjoy it.
Yeah. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.